Palantir stock is crashing. What's Palantir? If we look on Palantir's website, they're basically a fancy data analytics company, which means they just take a big amount of data and they try to make sense of it for companies like banks, healthcare companies, and the government. They actually have been coming under fire for working with ICE and other parts of the government like that. So now that we know what Palantir is, they're a big popular software company. Why are we talking about them? Basically, since September, they were trading at like $9-10. All of a sudden, they shot up all the way to a high of like $45. And, in the past couple days, they've basically fallen all the way back down to 25. So we're trying to figure out, are they on sale? Are they going to crash? Should we buy? Should we avoid it? So let's try to figure it out. This is going to be a two-parter. So part one is really we're just going to look at the short term. So why is the stock crashing? And two, we're going to basically just do a deep dive on the company and do some due diligence. So stay tuned for that. But here we go, part one. So the first thing we're going to think about, there's two things that were major factors in the stock recently coming all the way down to this level. So the first one is that very recently all the shares were unlocked for trading. So what does this mean? Basically, everything you see here is 1/5 of all the shares for Palantir. That's trading for 1/5. And the reason you're seeing that is because of this thing called a lockup. So as we scroll down here, starting in September, only 1/5 of their shares could be traded. On Thursday, almost all stockholders got the option to sell as much as they'd like for the first time. So as you look at this, one thing I want to point out is if you look here, look at the volume on the left over there, 60 million, 38 million, 40 million. You see basically anywhere from like 50 million to maybe 100 million right here in the craze. This is like GameStop when everyone was hype about everything and they were buying 170 million. Okay, so keep that in mind. Then it kind of tapers down, 40 million trading volume somewhere. It's like hovering in that same range, and then all of a sudden, check out this. You were looking at like February 17 right here, 140 million. And then, so today on the 18th, when this all happened, look at that 300 million volume. There's a ton of volume right now. My hypothesis is basically people are, for the first time, they can take a profit, make some money on their initial investment. So why not take it? Fully logical. So it'll be interesting to watch. And so the other part that I want to point out is Palantir released their latest earnings today as well. So the main thing I want to point out here is they released the 2021 guidance for 30% growth. And they wanted the management to project a bigger growth. So people weren't really happy with that. They were hoping that management would project a bigger growth, and that conservative approach might have turned off some people. So we'll dive deeper into this in part two, but just wanted to point that out as well, that's another factor that's working against Palantir. So final part I really want to point out here is the chart itself. So what's going on in the short term that we should watch out for? So check this out. Stock basically went up, kind of traded at this range for a while, and so you can see various support levels around $25, $23. And so this was the big GameStop craze, and then so now you have a low, high again. So the things I want to point out is this purple line down here is the 50-day exponential moving average. And if you look at where it is compared to the price as you go historically, it's below the price. So this is typically represents a bullish market and an uptrend. Now the curious thing is, I'm no expert, but the curious thing is right here, you see that now we've kind of crossed underneath that 50-day moving average. So it will be curious to see how this continues. Is the market going to push back up? And was this a nice dip, or are we gonna break some of these support levels and keep crashing down? It'll be interesting to follow along with this, given all the recent news and the latest price action. So I'll be keeping my eye on this stock, and we'll be diving deeper into a further due diligence on the company and see how we feel about the financials and what they're doing with all their clientele. So stay tuned for that, and like and subscribe, please.